Hello, everyone. Sorry, had a hair in my mouth. This is Shelly Dressel, and tonight I'm going to be channeling the universal light beings. So welcome to my show. Welcome to my channel. I'm on crystallinetransformations.com. That's where you can find all the universal light being stuff. But otherwise, I'm streaming it live on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. So you can go to any of those three places if you want to see past past videos but my website is always a good way to have it all in one place. I also channel the Goddess of Creation for meditations, and that is goddesslight.net. So you can look at my information in a couple of different places. I do private sessions, and if that's something you're interested in, you can look at either one of my websites and see if that's something that might interest you. There's multiple different ways that we can work together. But here we are, January 28th. Again, I've always said I don't know that much about astrology other than to know that there are big changes that are taking place in the physical universe, in addition to the three-eye atlas, in addition to the ascension, in addition to everything that's been going on. I feel as if we're supported in all of this in multiple different ways. It's not just, they're saying, oh, we're ascending in this part right here and not this part over here. Every aspect of humanity is moving through this ascension. The earth plane is moving through this ascension. The universe is moving through this ascension. So this is something that is interconnected. It's a galactic change. It's not just one little piece is going through this. So it's pretty incredible when you stop to think of it that way. And I love it. So, okay, I know that, so tonight is channeling the universal light beings. Albayon is from Arcturus, Brysentia is from the Pleiades, and Crystallia is from the Omniverse. Last time that we got together, for those of you that get my email, you can certainly go in and sign up for my email. It's on my website. I mentioned how it just all kind of got away from me. I think I answered every single question that was sent my way, and I ended up channeling Albayon for like 55 minutes. Well, that just completely drained me, because when we're talking about a lot of these things that are happening in our everyday life, it just really pulls all of the vibration and frequency down. So I'm trying something new this time. This time, what I'm going to do is I've limited the questions. There's so many things that are very similar to one another. There are a lot of questions that people ask over and over and over and over. And, I was thinking, well, maybe they're new to the channel. Maybe, who knows? So, so if you have a question that I'm not addressing, go back and look at other channels. It may have been addressed there. And, so I'm just doing the best I can. And but something is very interesting in the energies, because I really wished I could lay down and take a nap. I love naps, and I just was too busy this afternoon, and I didn't have a chance. Someone says there's no sound. Huh. It says here that can somebody else tell me if you don't have any sound? I know I had a problem a while ago, but at that time I saw that the audio definitely was not turned on. I had accidentally turned it off, but it looks like to me it's on. Can someone that's on here? You hear me fine. Okay, so maybe it's just that one person then. But anyway, so when I'm channeling the universal light beings, they're a very high light vibration. And as we look at what's going on in the world, and as we get caught up in all of that energy, it just pulls everything way down. So a couple of things that I'm doing different this time. Number one, I'm just limiting the number of questions that I'm going to ask. I'm answering those that are new, or those that I feel, are really important for what's going on. Number two, I'm just going to kind of keep track of the time. And after, 25 minutes or something like that, boom, we're done. We're moving on. I don't know. Maybe they'll just energetically work with me in that way. Maybe I don't have to worry about looking at the time. But But I just decided that, this is the way that I need to do this because it's just a lot. Anyway, so good. I'm glad that lots of you can hear me. So perhaps for that one person that was struggling, that didn't have any sound, maybe check your settings on your end. All right, so it's about 5 minutes after. I am going to go ahead and get started on this. If this is your first time listening to me, please like and subscribe. As you know, especially in YouTube, that's the way that you get motion and get things going behind it. I see a lot of you in the chat over here. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And your new plan sounds great. Thank you, Sunny. I appreciate that. It's always a work in progress, isn't it? We'll try it this way. Oh, that didn't work. We'll try it this way. Okay, that's better. So anyway, thank you. But we do get people from all over the world, and I truly, truly appreciate you being here. Okay, let me begin. Greetings, it is I, Crystallia. I welcome you to this time together. I welcome you to this time in which we can all be together in community. I wanted to speak at the very beginning here because I did want to work with the energy. I had a few messages that I wish to give to you also, and so I wanted to be here at the beginning as we set the energy for this time. We're here. We are here. And what is playing out for you in your everyday reality is a distinct separation. Now then, I come from the omniverse, so I come from a place in which the consciousness from one person to the next, there is a very open and direct alignment in consciousness between everybody. And this is something that the earth plane is going to. This is one of the big changes that have taken place since the solstice in December, which was the 21st. And so here we are. We've had a whole nother month that has gone by since all that integration took place. And what's happening on the earth plane is that you don't think about how things rise to the higher frequency. When you have people that are, say, in a relationship and one person is of a higher vibration and another one's at a different, doesn't matter. That can still be a very wonderful, loving, strong relationship. However, if someone is pulling you down, then you're no longer vibrating at the frequency that is best for you. At the same token, if you can be with your friends and lift them up and they lift up to come to a frequency that is more like you, then that is helping both sides of the party. And that's where I see the planet is right now. You have all been accustomed to living a particular way upon this planet. This is a planet of duality. This is a planet of free will. This is a planet of control and manipulation. And you have just come through an eon, which is 26,000 years in your time, that was experiencing all of those things in multiple different levels. You experienced it through consciousness. You experienced it through everyday reality. You've experienced it in the many, many, many different ways in which you can experience control and manipulation. And as with anything, there are times when it was incredibly horrible and bad. There were times when it was not so bad. And it just had these peaks and valleys that you were going through. When you hit year 2000, that was a shift into a new beginning. The actual end of the eon was more like 2005 or something like that. But as you know, nothing is an exact science. Like, you didn't all wake up that day and say, oh, it's done. Instead, you've had these last 20 years in which you've been awakening to what was going on this planet. You've been awakening how each one of you individually came in to this planet, how you came in with a karmic agreement with the other people around you to live particular experiences, to have particular realities. And then when you got to that point, things began shifting, especially around what you call 2012. That was the end of that epoch completely. And so you've now had, what, 12, 13 years in which you should have been in this new higher vibrational frequency. But instead, what was going on is you've spent that last time just like you're reading a book and you peel away a page. Oh, this is going on. You peel away another page. No way, that also is going on. And it's been page after page after page since that time until you get to where you are now. And everybody here that's listening to this is very well aware that the Three-Eye Atlas would never have come to this part of the galaxy unless you had enough people that had ascended and had moved into that higher light frequency. And it did happen. You did do this. But now look at what the past month has been. It has been the experience of all of you that shifted into a higher, lighter frequency in which you've had the opportunity to pull up everybody around you and pull up the remainder of the planet, but instead you're dropping down your energy again. So I wanted to speak to you about this to help you become aware that it's critical that each one of you really pay attention to where your thoughts go, to the stuff that you watch on the internet. I've heard through Shelly, because I'm always there, especially in channels and things, how many people are saying, I just don't even turn on the internet anymore so as to stay disconnected. That's a great idea, but I know that the vast majority of people want to know what's happening in the world, what's happening around me. So one of the most important ways in which you can keep your higher vibrational frequency is to learn how to look at what might be going on and disconnect. But if you see something, oh my God, isn't that horrible? I can't believe that's going on. You've been sucked in, your vibration dropped instantly. And so think back to your day. Think back to maybe getting a good night's sleep. Maybe, you're clearing out your energy. Maybe your vibration is rising and you wake up on the new day and things are going great. And then how many times during the day did you have that reaction? Be it something at work, be it in a relationship, be it something that you saw on the internet. There's so many ways. This time of being present here on the planet, there is a lot of inundation of stimulation, meaning there's a lot of loud noises, there's a lot of loud music, there's a lot of visual things that you're seeing there. When stuff is happening, it's happening instantly because you see it instantly on the internet. So therefore, when do you have time to just chill out? When do you have time to clear out that overstimulation? When do you have time to let yourself reboot and come back deep within yourself into your intrinsic, organic, if you want to call it that, spirituality? Because that is the foundation for where all of society and all of humanity is moving. And when I look at the planet, I see that easily 75% of you are already there. Now, I can just hear you say, nope, that's no way possible. That's way too high. But what I mean by that is that there probably are a good many that are in that unconscious place in which they are tapping into it. And those are the ones that are very easily, if you come in with your highlight vibration, they easily rise up to the higher frequency. Now, 25%, you may also be thinking, man, that's huge, that's massive. Well, that doesn't mean 25% is totally of a negative vibration or a really lower vibration. No, that just means that you've got 25% of humanity that are easily buying into what is on your internet. That means you've got 25% that believe what they see. They think, oh my gosh, it's written there. Or, oh my gosh, this source is someone I really trust and believe. Or, whatever the scenario may be, you've got 25% of all of humanity that is just going along with whatever's being sent to them energetically. And this is why people feel like they're getting slammed. They feel like they're getting hits. Sometimes it feels like it's actually a physical reaction that you are having to something that somebody else says. So I want you to, in the next, okay, we'll meet again in 2 weeks. Between now and the time we get together in 2 weeks, I'm asking you to start paying attention. Maybe you need to get a little log. Maybe pull up your phone and start a little note in which it says, hey, anytime I get sucked in, I'm going to go put a tick mark there. Or anytime I feel my vibration really sinking down, I'm going to put a tick mark there. Because I'm willing to bet that every single one of you, it happens way more than you realize. Now, so that's the key. We know it's going to happen. So the question is, are you going to get sucked in? Are you going to get pulled down? And then you wallow and you stay and you share it with your friends and you got to call this person over there and then you got to rehash everything? Or are you going to say, oh, wow, I feel terrible. I got pulled down again. Done and move on. And that's the way that you are living your everyday life. You're still experiencing everything you like to experience. Sorry. You can now put that in your memory banks. Okay, I did look at that, and okay, here's the result of that. But I'm going to still come back up to that higher vibrational frequency, because as you do that, this is how you are going to anchor the higher frequency into your everyday reality. And this is how more and more people that might be fully conscious of awakening are going to awaken and just, come along for the ride. Okay, so there was something else about that I wish to share. What was it? Oh, discernment. So how many times do each of you, some of you might write to Shelly and ask about this. Some of you might have it in your conversations. Some of you might have it in, different posts or blogs or emails or things like that you're talking about discernment. And going back to what I just said, maybe there's someone that has been a fabulous source for you. You learned so much information and you just loved it. But then maybe just that one time out of all of them, they say something that really doesn't resonate with you. So rather than saying, this person's awesome, I love what they're saying, but this piece doesn't resonate with me, people will have a tendency to say, well, I'm going to trust what they say. I must be wrong. So in that way, you are giving away your power, you're giving away your discernment, and you are telling yourself energetically, I'm less than, I'm not good enough. I don't have an open alignment to my divinity, when the truth of the matter is you absolutely have an open alignment. Your higher self is just right here. It's all around you. It is constantly giving you information. So even though you may, even Shelly, even though you may hear or watch or see something or read something that's been a great source, if something about it does not resonate with you, then let it go. That doesn't mean let it go the person, as I just said, but let go whatever information doesn't resonate with you. Now, if that information is something you then hear it again, over here, over here, over here, over here, and over time you realize, well, it didn't resonate with me at first because it was so far outside of my scope. And now that I know more, maybe it actually is something that I need to be aware of. You can always change your mind. That's what discernment is. Discernment doesn't mean black and white. You always are in this and you always are in that. Discernment means that you are receiving the energy, you are taking in whatever it is that is being shared with you, and then you choose for yourself. Okay, that was my big message for you. And can you feel, as I speak of this, every single one of you, can you just feel, woo, it's like there's this uplift, there's just this light, there's just this wonderful energy that is moving through all of you. And so this is, again, one of the reasons why I wanted to come in here first, so that at the very beginning, we can set the tone and set the energy for this. Plus, if I end up going last and she's tired, then it's hard to really get into all of this in such a way. Plus, you guys are tired. It's been a long channel, and you guys get tired too. So anyway, I did want to do that. Now, there are a couple of questions for me. What's going on with the 3-Eye Atlas, and why haven't we heard about it after... What was it in December? It was like every other message was about, just had goosebumps. Thank you for that affirmation. What is happening with the 3-eye atlas? Yes, it is still here. Yes, it is still orbiting in your galaxy. Yes, it is still sending you impulses. It is still working as a liaison for all of you that are here on the planet. And there are even more of you than before that are going directly onto the atlas and receiving lessons and communicating with people that come from your soul family, communicating about different experiences that either you've had in the past or you might be having now. So the 3-eye atlas is still here. It's still around. Why people aren't talking about it anymore, I have no idea. But it is there. It is still interacting with the sun. Around the 19th to the 21st in that frame, it was when you see your planet and you see your planet like this and this atlas came in front of it, it was like, boom, it was a direct 100% alignment. The way of the alignment right now is a little bit more off to the corner. It's working with some of the other planets that are here in your solar system. And so then it is going to come back around probably closer to the equinox in March. And then you may feel a lot of that. But the 3-eye atlas continues to work with your sun. You continue to get downloads from your sun. You continue to get downloads from the various ships that are working in alignment with both the 3-eye and the other beings that are supporting you here on Earth. So, so you get downloads from many, many different sources. It's not just coming from one. What's the difference? The difference is that they are all working on you. They are all working together. There are many what they call light codes. Sometimes you may hear tones. Sometimes you may see images. Sometimes you may see like what looks like an alphabet, but it's not any alphabet that you recognize. And what's happening is that these are giving you transmissions of energy that are helping you to move to the next level of consciousness. And it's helping to anchor you in that much higher, lighter frequency. So pay attention to what you listen to, pay attention to whatever downloads you may get, and pay attention to these light codes. So then the question arises, well, do I have to know every single one of them? Absolutely not. And then another question that comes on the heel of that I can hear from people is, well, is my DNA still activating? Yes, indeed. So about your DNA, each one of you have a DNA. You have multiple strands. And of those strands, in just about everyone, you've got the energy in and surrounding many of those strands, but they're not actively communicating with the other strands of your DNA. So if you think about that, we'll keep it simple, just up to 12. You talk about the 2 strands, those 2 basic strands, but truly everyone has activated up to the 12 strands. And that's what's allowing you to be anchored in the vibrational frequency in which you live right now. So the even more expanded strands than those are also receiving energy. It's downloading energy. It's there. It's waiting within and around you for you to be at a vibration that it activates, and then it kicks in and it helps you stay at that higher, lighter vibration. So what's important to know is that you are still upgrading. You are still integrating. You are still going through all of these things. You don't have to sit and analyze it every time. Okay, that was another thing I wish to say. Excuse me if I've already said it tonight, but you have been accustomed in that control and manipulation society that you had to look at everything analytically and to believe what was in your mind more so than what was in your soul or your spirit. So since the solstice, you are now learning how to believe what is in your soul or your spirit more than what you are believing in your mind or your mental body. And so that is a flip of that. It's like a 180-degree turnaround. And so, of course, not everyone's going to do it immediately, but this is another reason why this drop in vibration has taken place, because you're continuing to think in the old way instead of feeling and integrating and interpreting in the newer, higher vibrational frequency way. So that is just, pivotal for you as you continue to move forward, is And like when I talked about those little tick marks and everything, that's another way in which you can pay attention to, oh, am I tapping into feeling and consciousness, or am I staying in my analytical mental body? Okay, I think there was just one more question for me. Let me see here. How do telepathic beings teach telepathy to their babies? So, everybody, every one of you are born with the ability to use telepathy, to interpret the environment around you. Sometimes you might interpret it through imagery, you might interpret it through sound, you might interpret it through taste. So every one of you already have all of this within you. And when those of you that have had children could probably resonate with this more easily. But even those of you that have not, if you've just held a baby in your hand and you look at those eyes, you are getting the messages from those eyes as they're looking at you. So that is them communicating with you telepathically. Not only the children, but think about your animals. How many times do your animals come up and they just look at you? Well, they're sending you a message telepathically. Do you get it? Do you interpret it? Or do you ignore it? You see, you always have that free will to choose how you're going to respond to something like that. But it is so important for you to pay attention and understand that you have these gifts. It's not that so-and-so's better than me. Everybody has these gifts. The ease with which you work with them is what is transitioning. So put forth that intention. When you think about manifesting, remember, I am manifesting, I am embracing all of my abilities and potentials that I have within me. You would be surprised what may come up for you, because you are now focusing on the fact that you have many different gifts, that you are open to utilizing them, not receiving them, but to utilizing them. So this is just another way in which you can pay attention to how you think about things, how you look at the world, and what is happening within you. Right now, there's a massive divide. It's not as much of a divide as many of you think there is, but right now it seems like the spirituality is something that's very hard to get to, and everyday reality, the humdrum part of that, is what is truth. But you need to flip it. You need to remember the spiritual essence, the vibration, the frequency, the consciousness. That is the primary frequency. And when you start looking at the other things that are happening, it gets you out of the minutia and into the bigger scheme of things. And it also helps everything that may be going on to move at a more smooth pace and to transition more quickly. Hooey. Well, as we said, we're just going to kind of move through things tonight. I thank you for this opportunity. I love humanity. I am so amazed at what you guys have lived through. It has been hard. It has been hard and traumatic. I see that. I honor you. I recognize it. But now we're here. Embrace the light. Embrace the frequency. And be present. Ansaluia. Whew. Greetings. It is I, Brysentia. Just coming on the heels of all that Crystallia was saying is truly amazing. I'm just looking around at everyone, and I'm still seeing through that higher light frequency. There is a lot that's been taking place. And as always, I like to speak about our influence coming in from the universal beings, but also that part of Gaia from which I am aligned. First of all, the earth continues its ascension process. In some ways, it's almost as if the earth has sped up and gone quicker than humanity's consciousness has. Now, of course, on the whole, humanity is moving. How do I say this? When I look at the earth and I look at the ascension, it's a very steady, continuous process. You know, there may be minor little things that happen, but it's still a very steady, continuous process. It cannot be impacted by the things that are happening on the surface of the planet because it is the whole entire planet, and it is a strong, steady increase in vibration and frequency. It is the humanity, it is the consciousness of humanity that is very labile, that is very up and down, that steps up into the high frequency and says, oh my gosh, this is fabulous. We're here, we've arrived. And then you get pulled back down again. So that's where you see it like the sawtooth almost. And you also have those that are stuck down in that lower vibrational frequency and really rarely ever get outside of it. So one of the things that I wanted to say here at the beginning is that the planet has moved beyond that level where it's going to hold on to the low vibrational frequency. So what does that mean to you? Much of the cabal, as you call them, much of the very horrific negative things that have happened on this planet were able to take place because there were pockets of low vibrational energies on the earth plane that would allow for that to happen within. These places were created many thousands of years ago and maintained in a low vibrational frequency. But with the way that the earth has ascended, they no longer are available. People cannot go in and create these pockets and heat and hold on to that low vibration. So that is one of the importances, or that's some of the importance of the earth itself moving through this transition and being in this higher vibrational frequency. Okay, so there was something I was going to say about that as it was, okay, the weather. I know that there's been severe storms all around the planet, and I know that there's always the talk of people that this is controlled, this is manipulation, this is deliberately done to hold people back, to harm people, to make things hard for people. And I have to say to you that no, that's not the case. There may have been certain pockets and certain places where things got accentuated and where things happened that that maybe were a little worse than it was intended to be. But when you look at the planet and when you look at cycles, sometimes it's every couple of hundred of years, sometimes it's every 75 years, but every so often there is a massive, be it a heat wave or cold wave, that comes through the planet. And this is Gaia readjusting herself. This is Gaia clearing out what doesn't resonate anymore. And you may think, well, how is snow clearing out, or how is cold weather clearing out? Everything vibrates at a particular frequency. So when you change the vibration via temperature, you are clearing out things that were entrained within the earth, that are entrained within Gaia. And therefore, as she herself continues to send waves of energy in and around the planet, or as the sun keeps sending in solar flares, what she's loosened up through the weather patterns, sometimes it was volcanoes, sometimes it was earthquakes. There have been a lot of earthquakes lately, and this is Gaia finding that adjustment and finding that balance that needed to be found so that the earth can get rid of those pockets of very low vibration and vibrate at a higher frequency. So this has been going on for several years, and with the way that so many people look at things and believe about things, they'll look at, be it something in the sky, be it the weather patterns, and say, oh, it's control and manipulation. They're trying to hold us down. This is exactly the belief system that Crystallia was asking you to let go of. Instead of always seeing things as something that is coming to hold me down, or that the bad guys are getting even more energy, no, instead, it is what it is. Perhaps there was some manipulation that took place, but it still was what it was. Perhaps the earth was just making its own transition, but it was what it was. So this is how we would love for you to start looking at what's happening around you. And you can say, okay, well, that kind of enforced me to take some downtime because I had to stay home because I couldn't really get out. You know, obviously for anyone that was struggling with food or cold or something like that, then obviously our compassion goes out to them. But this past one in particular, it feels to me as I'm tapping into it like it was more Gaia than something nefarious. Part of the reason for that is that they told everyone about it for 5 days in advance. This is coming up. This is going to happen. Be prepared, as opposed to those things that happen spur of the moment out of the blue. Frequently, those might be someone coming in to try to wreak havoc. But this, to me, feels that's my perception. I'm sure there'll be those that say, nope, we've proven it over here. Okay. But be aware that there are many different things that always take place in anything that happens on the earth plane. But Gaia herself is going through this massive change, this massive transition. I want to speak about the dragon families. You frequently hear about them associated with Asia, like with China, with Japan. I don't think as much in Korea. I don't think as much in Tibet or India. But the dragon families are some of the most ancient energies that are on this planet. They do go back to true dragons, and they have transitioned. There are still elders that are in these locations. They're not anywhere near where the regular humanity is, but there are some of them that are several hundred years old that live deep in the caves that can still, sorry, how funny. But they live deep in the caves, and they are they still transform from person into dragon, and nobody is going to find them. They are very, very deeply, what's the word we want to use? They're very deeply protected, not only by their own selves, but by the universe and the ones that are interacting with them from other planets that are out within the universe. These are the ones that work directly with Lemuria. They can go straight into Lemuria. They come out from Lemuria. But the way that you know of them now is by calling them the dragon families or the dragon leaders or the dragon healers. And sure, they may call it the white, the red, the green, whatever it may be. But you are going to hear that there's a lot of transitioning in what you believed certain countries around the planet had, what you thought they were not, and those that you thought might have been uplifting and helpful were not as much. So there's a big transition that's going to come about. And in part, it's because as they continue to get rid of all of the really nefarious people that have been in charge of some of these countries, you're going to find that underneath it all, holding that energy, holding that strength of the ancient energies that were within that space, they've always been there, and they're now rising to the top. Iran is another one of those examples. Right now, it's like, oh, they're going to come and they're going to bomb people. There will not be any form of a nuclear explosion. There may be some minor little things that happen at one point or another, but there is not going to be any devastating nuclear bomb. We've said this for many, many years, but if you go back into Persia, and if you go back into the ancient Persian tablets and their information, they were connected with the dragon ancestry, and there was a dragon that was over that part of the world. In fact, the dragons had a person, one particular type of dragon over every part of the planet, not as the rulers, but as the supporters and as the protectors and as the, what do you want to call them? The people that give you advisors to the people that lived in these various parts of the world. Sometimes they were separated by what planet they came from out in the universe. Sometimes they were just separated by, these are the intrinsic people from this planet. So many, many, many different things. And there's a lot of that that's going to be coming out, but it has been sealed for a very, very long time, and they have just started awakening with the arrival of the Atlas. Not awakening, that's not the word I want to use. They are beginning to open that door so that people can feel about them and learn about them. So the other thing, whether you want to go back into the ancient energies of all of the different planets, there is so much beautiful, beautiful indigenous aspects to every country in this world. Some are filled with oceans and water. Some are filled with mountains. Some are filled with valleys and grass, and some are filled with a little of everything. Some have vast deserts and some have vast forests. But all of these differences that you may see as you look at your beautiful, beautiful planet, many of those things have been impaired over the last 50 to 75 to 100 years, and much of that is already starting to rejuvenate. Just as I've spoken multiple different times about the natives in each one of the countries, they're coming forth. You may not see them because many vibrate at the 9th and 10th level of dimension, but they're there, they're coming out, they're claiming land that goes back to that ancestry, and they're coming forth. So as each one of these come forth, you begin to hear about the resources in these different countries, and you begin to look at each country and experience each country through the wealth of abundance that each one of them have. You may look at it and think they don't have it, but that's looking through the eyes of lack or less than. And sometimes that's all it takes, is shifting your perspective and looking through the eyes of abundance and more than. So this is a big change that I see happening this year, 2026. And you might begin to see it already. Many of you have already noticed it, but you might also begin to see it in the next 1 to 2 to 3 months. The equinox in March is going to be another very powerful time. And it feels like there will have been much more disclosure by then, because humanity is looking for something that is supportive of them. The abundance that I'm speaking of are the natural resources, but also that which you call money, that which you call gold and silver and these metals and stuff like that. All of that is going to revalue. And whether you call that part of the quantum financial system, there's many different words for it, but I do believe that's one of it, or the digital financial system. All of that is in place, but it cannot be brought out to society until you've let go of more of that negativity. So as Crystallia said, 75% there, that's huge. But when you get to about 90%, and don't forget, people, it may have taken 5 years to get there in the past because you were swimming upstream. You can shift that in a month. You can shift it in a week. You can shift it very, very, very quickly. So I do see that the financial abundance is going to come across with the abundance that everyone sees in all of these different countries and all of this land. And as the earth rejuvenates itself, so too are the people that are living in each of these locations. It's like, as I'm looking, it's like you wake up one morning and the sun comes up and you're looking around saying, where am I? And things can happen that quickly, as if things are changing overnight. So the abundance is here, and it's just there, and it's already, in many, many cases, it's already implemented, it's already moving forward, but it cannot be rolled out to everyone until there's greater balance in the planet. And you are so much closer than you ever were before, but that's why it hasn't happened as yet. And that's why it's like day by day by day, you're so close to that tipping point. And when it comes out, it's going to be a game changer for everyone. Everyone will feel their needs are met. Everyone will know that there's plenty of food. Everyone will know that there's plenty of places to live and clothing, and nobody will go without. Now, is that going to happen in the next 1 to 2 months? No, it is not. But that is something that will be here, I would say, within 6 to 9 months. And then it's going to be felt by every single person on the planet within 1 to 2 years. And that includes all those very, very much asleep people that are the last ones that are dragging their feet in this transition. So this is an amazing time. Don't forget that the energies are here, and don't forget to be in those energies and let them be present within you. Okay, let's jump into some of these questions that people had. Was Jesus Christ a Pleiadian originally? So Jesus Christ was not necessarily a Pleiadian. He came from a universal light. That Sananda oversoul that he was a part of was a mixture of many different places out within the universe. He was definitely not of the earth in terms of where the earth was at the time that he walked upon the earth. He definitely came in from the universe. He definitely came in with a group of people to help him hold that vibration and frequency, but he was not just Pleiadian. He was a mixture of other, like there was Andromedan, Arcturian, Syrian. He was a blend of many different species from out within the universe. Okay. I've read about 3 days of darkness, but this one was different. Okay, a photon belt. Says every 26,000 years, the planet goes through a photon belt, and it's actually that photon belt that's going to cause the days of darkness. So this photon belt that this person is talking about feels to me as if it's something that is, yes, associated with your universe, and yes, it's associated with the planets that you have around the universe, but it is also associated with the overlay that was so much a part of the galaxy. So in other words, there is still a photon belt. There is still something that the Earth is moving through, but it does not feel as if it's dramatically different as what it used to be in the past because of the overlay and because of the negative energy or the low vibration of the people living on the earth. So, so going through this photon belt, you're already there. You know, another thing is having the 3-eye atlas here was diffusing a lot of the energies of that belt as you're moving through it. But that is a part of that transition every 26,000 years. So no, it is not going to cause 3 days of darkness, but yes, it is a part of all of this transition that you've been going through. It's a way of rebalancing the alignment of the planets that are within your galaxy and your universe. And it's just like it's a recalibration that is taking place. So you're in the midst of it now. The 3-eye atlas is just being here, just simply being here and having the vibration and frequency that it does is a part of what is diffusing that and keeping people from having a very dramatic adverse effect to it. With the positive movement of light and the ascension that we've accomplished on the earth, why is the mainstream media still full of deception? They're full of deception because that's what they're being told to do. There are very few, as I look at them, there are very few of them that truly believe the information they're giving. Just about every single one of them understand that they're there, that they've got a mission, and that mission is to project a certain image. And when the time is no longer needed for them to project that image, then it will all come down. They've already been changed out. They were changed out several years ago. And so as it is right now, they're all just portraying it, playing a role. Now, that being said, you will find that more and more things are being shown and more things are being said, and it's a lot easier to access those things that are the truth, the authentic truth, than what it used to be. But with what you call mainstream media, no, they've almost all 100%. Now I'm looking at the U.S. Let me look at like UK and some of these other countries may not be as much, that it's transitioned, but in every country, in every on this entire planet, there is at least a part, if not at least half of it, of the mainstream media that knows what's going on, that knows that it's fake, that knows they're being told to say certain things, and they understand that they are not giving objective information anymore, as was the intention way back in the day. So that is one of those things that will clear up. And as soon as people understand what's going on, then there's no need for them to keep pushing and nudging and getting people. You know, sometimes they get people mad so as to cause them to question, so as to cause them to think, so as to cause them to, you know, help to awaken and become aware of everything. There's multiple ways in which people awaken. That, to me, is one of the negative ways in which it happens. But that is a part of why they're doing what they're doing. With the new momentum and development in Alberta's independence movement, are the potentials pointing towards success in that movement? So Alberta, Canada is seeking to become independent of Canada, is what I'm picking up on here. This is usually an Albayon thing, but Shelly must have just said, oh, we'll give it to Brysentia. See what her take is. Okay. I do believe that there is a lot that's happening in Alberta. I do believe that there will be independence. I do believe that there will be independence that comes in many of the countries across the planet. I do believe that many of these countries have already transitioned, and the people that you see there might be people that are temporarily doing a particular job. But as for Alberta, I don't know. For some reason, as I'm looking at it, it feels to me like Canada breaks up. It's not going to be the same as the country that it has always been. It feels like it breaks up, and this might be a part of the U.S. This might be independent. This might be part of the U.K. I just see it as being a conglomerate of many different things that are going on. And so how it all comes out in the end, I'm not 100% sure, other than I know that, just as I mentioned earlier, everyone is finding their sovereign self. Everyone is finding the resources and the abundance and the balance that is within their place in which they live. And the way in which you structure the planet at this time is not the way it's going to look 5 to 10 years down the road. Is it true that the sun has been activated to release and transmit codes like never before? Apparently, this is happening just now. And is there something that we need to prepare for it? Well, yes, the sun is sending in activation codes like they never have before. That would be certainly a way of looking at that. But this is what's been amplified because of the 3-eye atlas. This is what's amplified because you have so little density in the energy of the earth plane. When you look back to where you were 2 to 3 years ago, there was still a fairly heavy overlay. Now, those of you that have been following this, you will say, oh no, compared to what it was really light even 5 years ago and 6 years ago. So it's all about perception, and it's all about transition. And it's the difference of, you know, if you look at it from point A to point B, there's always been transition going on. And where you are right now has the greatest amount of the light vibrational frequency than you've had in the past 26,000 years. So is the sun activated to release? Absolutely. Because it's not going through heavy, thick density to get to humanity, to activate humanity. So they have different codes that they are using, and it is integrated differently into people. Plus, the interaction with the 3-eye atlas is also another way that you are receiving light codes that are helping you to integrate and to move into this new place. So that being said, let it work for you. Don't keep fighting it. Don't keep saying, I'm going to stay in my war and I'm going to stay in my negativity and my frustration and my anger. No, let it work for you and let yourself rise to that higher, lighter vibration and frequency. What are the physical symptoms of change? Many people are feeling it in their eyes, their teeth, their bones, their balance, their vertigo. You know, there are so many symptoms that people feel as you move through this transition. There are many people that have lost weight. There's many people that have gained weight. There are people that didn't like to eat meat. They now like to eat meat. There are many people that don't no longer like to eat meat. There are many changes that you're feeling not only on your physical body, but in your non-physical aspects around you. But it's very dramatic when it's your physical body, isn't it? So your teeth, your eyes, your back, your bones, all of these different things, as they transition into a higher, lighter frequency, the literal viscosity of the blood that is moving through your body becomes more translucent. When, like if there were people that were looking at blood samples and saying, okay, here's the blood sample, now here's the blood sample, now they would probably see it in the blood sample. So far, it's just that there are variations, and maybe there's a slight difference between what's normal and not normal for you, but this is a change that affects every part of you, from your teeth, your eyes, your bones, your skin, your hearing, your pineal gland, your adrenal glands. Every part of you is moving through a transition. So if a lot of people are feeling it in their teeth, then think about what the teeth represent to you. Number one, it's how you can eat. It's how you nurture yourself with food. It's a part of your appearance. It's the, think about what is the meaning behind your teeth. So then the question comes, well, when is everyone's teeth going to be healed? When is everyone's vision going to be healed? When are everyone's bones going to be healed? Well, it's really going to be multiple years before all of that takes place, because there's such a massive, wide variety in what is happening on the earth plane. So yes, absolutely, there are changes that are taking place. Yes, absolutely, you are each integrating the higher vibrational frequency, and it responds in your body in whatever way it responds inside your body. And so this is not about good, bad, or in between, but it's more so about, okay, I'm really feeling this in my teeth. How can I take care of my teeth? How can I nurture my teeth? Maybe salt, what is that? Salt water. That is one of the things that, have you noticed how so many people are selling those salt supplements? There's something about the sodium, calcium, the sodium, potassium pump that's in your body, that's in your heart, that is helping that is a part of the rebalancing of you, that is having an impact. And this is one of the reasons why you hear about so many of these things that they recommend for supplements and for people to have in your physicality. So be aware that there are many, many changes going on, and be aware that there's no one right or wrong way in which you can integrate these changes, but that everything is working in such a way that you're ascending to a higher vibration. Therefore, your body is vibrating at a different frequency. And within that different frequency, your bones, your teeth, your vision, your bloodstream, everything is different. So experience it, do whatever you need to do to support yourself so that you can be the best potential person you can be. Okay, 57. Is it true that there are no longer chemtrails being sprayed, but instead the skies are being treated with healing agents such as antibiotics, antiparasites, and other things? Whew. There's still a few places where they try to use the chemicals, and there are still some places where, as I'm looking at it, people do still feel the negative effects of those chemicals. But there are other places, and it feels like it's frequently around more heavily populated, where they might spray something that is intended to help cleanse not only the people, but as it comes down, as it's going through the atmosphere, it's cleansing the atmosphere, it's cleansing the oxygen, it's allowing for greater oxygen flow, and it's allowing for greater things to help you. These will all disappear at some point. As I'm looking at them, my perception is they are dramatically less than what they used to be, but I do see that they do continue to happen. So what do you do in any case like this? This is bringing up something else, and maybe it's another question, but so many people that are struggling to stay in that space, as Crystallia said, if you're in a place and you see these chemtrails, well, just cleanse your energy. If you're in a meeting and there's someone that's very virulent, cleanse your energy. If you're in a group setting and there's a lot of different vibrations and you feel overwhelmed, you get a headache, you feel nauseous, cleanse your energy. You don't have to hold on to anything. And the more that you cleanse your energy, the more you're not going to hold on to anything. In addition to that, so many of you are empathic and you forget you may be taking on all this junk from other people and you forget that you do that. So just get in the habit of cleansing your energy, and no matter what is happening around you, you yourself will stay in the best place in which you can be. You don't, you know, that idea that psychic attacks, absolutely, they were much greater in the past, but I'm certain there are still some that may try to do that or made the energy vampires. But don't go looking for it. Don't go seeing it in every person that you see. Instead, always be in the place of your own personal highest vibration and frequency, because that's then going to manifest that same like vibration around you, and you'll have less and less and less of the things that are disturbing or pulling you down. Whew. Okay, last one. We've had an extremely large number of auroras in northern Norway and other places. Is our DNA being upgraded because of the auroras? Okay, so this is all just kind of talking about the energy. So as I'm looking at the aurora borealis that this individual is talking about, you will recall back in the fall was that some of it came way far south on the planet than what it normally did. Again, as you have a more translucent, as a more light vibrational frequency that's existing on the earth plane, you can move through it with much greater ease. So these energies that represent the northern lights, the southern lights, whatever it is that you want to call it, that seemingly come from within the earth, you know, coming out of the poles at these two ends, you are going to notice them more brilliantly because you don't have that overlay. You don't have the heavy, dense energy that is keeping you from seeing things as clearly as you can. This is another way of showing you the reflection of things through the higher, lighter vibrational frequency. So yes, that is one of the changes. Yes, that's what's happening there. Does everything have an impact on your DNA? Not necessarily. The perception, though, is that everything that you're encountering, everything that you're experiencing is about the activation and the integration of the higher DNA, because it does interact with each other. But does something come in specifically for that effect? No. It may be that certain impulses that come from the sun, certain vibrations that you see when you're looking at the northern lights, whatever these things are, it may cause an expansion within you that will allow for something that was already there to integrate. But I do not see that the northern lights or southern lights themselves are sending out specific codes or frequencies. I do feel it's coming from the universe. Yes, indeed. But those, it's more like it's about what is already here that is being expanded and integrated because of experiencing them. So yes, they do have an impact on you, but perhaps not the same way as some of these other things. All right, family, I truly appreciate this opportunity to be present with you. There is such love, and I am very excited for the way that humanity is moving. Ansaluia. Greetings, it is I, Albayon. Oh, it's kind of different for me. I don't often come in at the end, do I? I wish to speak for a bit about everything that is going on here. Shelly kind of left things more into the questions, and I'll probably say less about what is happening here. One thing that I do want to say is with the transition in Venezuela, the transition in Cuba, the transition in Greenland, the transition in Iran, the transition in Israel, looking all the way around your planet, you are in the final transitions of all of these many, many different places. When you're looking at what is going on, be very, very clear that you're not going to get caught up in the rhetoric that is being spouted, because this is the last ditch effort for those of the negative to try to pull everybody down. They're still doing a good job, are they not? Because many of you have felt the anger. Many of you have felt the frustration. So yes, indeed, there are still things that are happening on the planet that are pulling you down. However, be very aware of it and be sure to step aside. Now, one thing that came up that I don't know if anybody asked the question about it or not, but in particular, what's going on in Minnesota with ICE and all of the propaganda that is being said. I feel as if that was all orchestrated, and it was orchestrated as a diversion to keep people from looking at the corruption that was going on. And it does feel like it's actually amplifying the corruption. It is working the reverse of what they intended for it to do. If you will recall, looking back at Seattle, looking back at Portland, looking back at Chicago, looking at all of these different places within the United States, LA, there were times when insurgents went in there specifically to wreak havoc and specifically to get people wound up. And that's what they're doing here. So absolutely, if you're in the midst of it, it can be very, very frightening. But we do wish to say that this is one of the last times, and it feels to me as if some sort of military, what's that stuff called? The National Guard or someone is going to go in there if they haven't already, and that's what's going to settle everything down. It's worked in the other cities where it went in, and it's going to work there too. This overlay of fear, of not trusting, not believing, has been very, very, very dangerous to a lot of people. And it has been shredded. When I look at people and I look at these people that just are all stuck up in that and going on and around, it's like their energy is literally shredded. And so into those places where I see it shredded, anytime I see it, I just send in light and love and compassion so that these individuals will be able to receive that light and they can move into someplace new. The problem is that we've talked about AI multiple different times. And the problem is that there's so much out there that is still being manipulated by AI. And of course, what is AI? A machine. And who programs the machine? People. So the AI, the manipulation, what people are hearing sounds so real and so authentic to them, and they just don't know what's different. However, the energy of it, this is where, coming back around, we all three have talked about discernment. This is where your discernment comes in. And if your knee-jerk reaction is, oh, that's terrible, use your discernment, because many times it is not the way it appears on the surface. They talk about cyborgs. They talk about transhumanism. They talk about all of these different things that have been intended, and not much, but a portion of humanity was going down that pathway. But it is not going to ever evolve as high as they want it to, because the ascension is here. There are robots. There are people that have been integrated into robots. That there are aspects of that did happen, and they are here on your planet, but they're not going to be here for long, and it's not going to be something that becomes a mass part of humanity. And it is something that is going to be transitioned, and everybody will know it for what it is. And then there will be an integration of the type of AI that is very supportive and helpful of humanity, as opposed to this that was deliberately programmed to tear down humanity. I still say those ChatGPT, Grok, all those different individuals, this is not something that you let take over for you. They're fabulous as resources. They can give you a lot of information. They can help you to brainstorm. You know, they do serve a purpose, but they are not consciousness. You could call it a form of consciousness, but they are not human consciousness. They do not have a soul. So it is intrinsically limited, and it is intrinsically going to keep you from being able, it is just not a human. So then the question that arises, NPCs, you know, well, is it a form of NPC? Yes, you could say it's a form of NPC, but just pay attention and don't give over your power to anybody. Maintain your own sovereign self, maintain your divinity, maintain your alignment to source, because that is how you're going to move forward. And that's what keeps you in this high vibrational frequency. Okay, so I'm just going to jump into these questions because I know that time's flying. The spat between President Trump and Mark Carney, was it part of a movie to wake up Canadians? And if so, how far will it go? Okay, well, it's saying also that a lot of China owns a lot of Canada. China owns a lot of the U.S. too. So let me look at this. And Crystallia, I mean, it was great that Brysentia was able to look at that and give you her perspective also. This incident between these two individuals, it does feel like it was a part of the movie, as you call it, and it was done as a means of waking people up. Yes. Answer to that is yes. What's going to happen to Canada? There's a potential that parts of Canada will become parts of the United States, but it doesn't feel like it's something that's going to happen this year or maybe even in the next year. It feels like as people, what do you call it? As each nation lets go of that control and manipulation that's been a part of this planet for so long, you will see a restructuring of many of the nations around the world. So Canada feels as if it's one that might have some dramatic changes to it. There are certain provinces that have already started working towards becoming independent of the others that are around it. And I do see some of that going forward. But this in particular is China. As Brysentia talked about, with the dragons kind of exerting more of their effort and more of their energy, they're going to get China in line. They're going to make China toe the line. They're going to take down the communists. The communists have already been taken down. However, there are still people in China and in Russia and in these different places that do want to control and manipulate. But all of that is going to be equalized in the next several months, if not having already been equalized. And so I do not see that this is a problem. Is there any information in the current or future regarding what is, okay, that I'm not going to, someone said, what's going to happen to our daily lives? Well, we've already been talking about your daily lives. And the one thing I do want to say about that is your daily life is your choice. Your daily life is the way that you look at your life and the choices that you make and what you engage in and who you communicate with. So people's daily lives have massively changed over the years. If yours have not and you want it to change, then make the change. That's on you. Okay, 112. Russian and Ukraine war seems to be dragging on and on. What is the purpose for that? And is there any end in sight? It feels like it's come that the Russian and Ukraine war is over. It feels like there may be some pushback that continues to go on, but it feels to me as if the treaty has been signed, and it may be that, okay, you've got X amount of time, but why wouldn't they tell the world that? So there's something that's still going on, and it feels like it's about exposing the underworld and exposing the negativity and the problems that have been going on that were so rampant in the Ukraine. And so So that feels to me like it may be a reason why you have that perception that the war is still going on. Now, I know that they're still fighting. I know that there's still discord. However, as I look at Ukraine and as I look at Russia, for some reason they just both look neutral to me, and that's telling me that they've made an agreement and they just haven't. It isn't the right time to enforce it, but that's coming up within weeks or months, a very short period of time. It is not going to explode into anything big and huge and massive. I just don't see that happening. Okay, we already talked about the Earth, about the weather situation. I'm not going to talk about that again. They call this awakening. How long does the awakening last? If President Trump and team have been under control and they keep saying, trust the plan, yet all is still going crazy in our world, I would like to enjoy the new world and the new planet. So trust the plan is a phrase that is used frequently in the military. It's frequently used in many different, what do you call them, CEOs and people that are in a position of authority. And the plan just means that there is a lot more going on than what you realize. And it is important that that not every person knows everything that is going on, because number one, you may not understand. Number two, the more people that know a lot of specifics, the more it's going to shift the energy. So the trust the plan in this is just a way of anchoring and letting yourself trust that, yes, there is a plan in place that is going to help the planet be in the higher vibrational frequency. And that I stand behind 100%. I always have, and I always do. As to Trump, there's a lot of people that they're trying to discredit him. There's a lot of people saying he's not even alive. There's a lot of people saying that there's like 5 different people that are acting him. No, there's 3 at the very, very most, but I believe there's mostly 2. There's one predominant one you see, but the original Trump is still on the planet. Some of these other people, the original person has been transitioned off the planet, and what you see is someone totally different. So I will say that with Trump, he is part of the galactic vibrational frequency. He has galactic protectors. He has human protectors, and he is the real, true, authentic Trump. Period. So if there's someone that's acting a different way, or if they're putting stuff out, again, I remind you, AI has a way of making you think something that is totally not true. So this is when you need to, if you see something like that, or if something comes across your video or whatever, then you're saying, is this for real? Is it not for real? And just practice opening to your discernment, and always, always listen to your discernment. Can they comment on the rising price of silver and if it will bring visible change in the financial system? Like crashing the banks. Of course, the negativity, as Shelly said, and as you know, we're sick of the negativity. Sick, sick, sick. There is not going to be a crash in the bank. There may be a dip. There may be something, with the end result being the higher rise, the higher vibration, the higher quantum financial system that is going to support this planet, where, as we said earlier, where there will not be any lack, but that lack is going to continue as long as you guys keep talking about it. Phew. So the precious metals are used like any other investment that you have. You buy it, you sell it, you pay taxes, you don't pay taxes. Things like that are whatever it is in the country in which you live. The prices are still not inflamed. The prices are still not balanced. They're still not going to be what they are eventually going to be. I know that there are some places where the silver went a lot higher, and the gold is very volatile right now. But when everything is said and done, when you get done finally cleaning out the last of this negativity, and you begin to understand where all these rare earth metals are coming in and what they're being used for, it's being used for travel out into the universe. It's being used for communication with other planets, and they were dormant. But now that the vibration of the planet has risen to a certain degree, then these rare earth metals are coming up to the forefront, because now is the time for them to be present, for them to be utilized, and for it to help humanity. It's not only for the universe, but it's also for humanity. So you are going to see all your various the cryptocurrencies, the digital currencies, all of these different things that you've been talking about for the past 10 years. Everything is going to come into play. It's all going to come into a very balanced place. And these transitions are they've already been done in many places. It's already working in the background, but it will be spoken about, just as Brysentia said, when there's enough balance on the earth that the money can be distributed, that people can be in this transition without using it for control and manipulation, then people will receive it. And I hear you, you say, well, there's never going to be a lack of control and manipulation. So you just gave it more energy, as did I. But be aware, pay attention, and it is going away. So the thing that just popped into our mind is, in the U.S., we know that they talked about the IRS going away. The IRS is going away. We thought that 2 years ago it was going to be gone. We thought there was a really good chance that they would complete it at the end of 2025, but it feels like it's like when we look at the IRS, it's like it looks flat. So in other words, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of money coming in, a lot of money going out. It looks flat. So we know that everyone's still paying your taxes. We know that you still have the same tax systems that are in place, but it feels as if there's going to be a significant change around that within the next several months, because it feels flat to me when I look at it. Okay, phew, getting tired here. But I think we did a good job, didn't we, tonight? Don't you think that this is all feeling like it's a much higher frequency than the last time we got together? How can you best work with your fears and becoming free and successful in the new world? Well, this is that should have been probably taken up to Crystallia. That's what Crystallia was talking about. And fear is something that's just very much a part of your life. You were taught to be afraid. You were taught not to trust. You were taught. And so learning how to trust yourself, learning how to understand where it's coming from within you, learning that aspect of you, that's a whole new thing. And many of you have been learning it for the past 40 or 50 years. And others of you have just started stepping into this platform the last month or two, and everything in between. So learning how to let go of your fears is when you encounter something that makes you fearful, and you acknowledge, okay, why is this making me fearful? And you acknowledge whatever that is. And then you look at how you can shift out of that fear and into something that is a higher frequency. You cannot just ignore your shadow self. You cannot just ignore what might be talking to you and pulling you down, because it will continuously do that until you acknowledge whatever it is, heal whatever it is you need to heal, and then consciously make that choice and let your focus be upon that which is positive, more uplifting, more of a higher vibration. And then the more you do it, the more the high vibration there is. Okay, last question here. Is Vance a wolf in sheep's clothing? Was he taken out years ago, and is John Jr. the one that's behind the Vance mask? You know, sometimes when you look at him, doesn't he look different? It's like sometimes, does he have eye makeup on? Does he not have eye makeup on? Does he, I can kind of see that. The original Vance was taken out at least 12 years ago, if not longer. And he was taken out and the person that's taken his place is someone that stepped into that body, that stepped into that life. It feels like his wife was transitioned also at that time. And the person that is his wife now is also playing a role. It feels as if there is a mutual respect and affection in there. It does feel like there's love in there, but JD Vance is serving a very strong purpose, and he knows what his purpose is, that he believes it 110%. But he is someone else, and I'm not being shown the name of who he used to be that stepped into that place. It was not John Jr. It's someone much younger. John Jr. would be what, in his 60s or something like that. Whoever's doing JD Vance is someone in their early 40s to mid 40s. Is he a wolf in sheep's clothing? They want you to believe that because of his stuff in his far past. They want you to believe that he's there and he's acting in this particular way, but he's still a part of the cabal and he's still going to come in and take things down. But that individual has already been processed. He's already gone, and he is not here. So the individual that is the JD Vance that you know is very much a part of the white hat. He's very much a part of everything that's going on. And maybe this is all coming up like this as a means of causing people to question. And indeed, we always believe, question everything. So, so my perception in looking at him at this time, this is the information that I'm getting. Phew. That's it for tonight. We three are here. We're going to just kind of come together, and we're just going to flow the energy of love, light, and the high frequency into all of you here. We are here with the intention and purpose that we help society raise to the higher vibrational frequency. We work with many of you behind the scenes, maybe in your dream state. Many of the galactic beings are now working directly with people in humanity, and maybe you're one of them. So be aware that the new beginning is here. It's fully integrated, and it is only making its way through. So let your focus be on that which expands and makes you feel better. May your focus be on that which is coming through your own intuition and your own alignment with soul. Beloved, know that I'm ever with you. Ansaluia. Whew. Yes, I feel much better tonight than I did 2 weeks ago. That one was, whew, that was, I loved how they explained what had happened to me the last time. And I loved how they explained how we all feel when we're in a big group of people. And so I thought that was really, really good. Well, thank you everyone for being here. I truly appreciate it. If you've stayed here through the whole thing, awesome. I really appreciate you. But I'll be back in about 2 weeks for this channel again. I'll be back next Monday for the Goddess Light meditation. Speaking of which, the last meditation I did, which was on, I think, the 19th or something like that, it was about integrating the galactic energy into our chakras. So that was a really powerful one for rebalancing you and really helping to raise your vibration. So for those people that keep saying, you know, how can I be in that new frequency? Maybe go back and listen to that. You can find it on goddesslight.net. It's right there on the homepage. But it's also in all of my, I don't know if it's in, yeah, it's in Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. You can find it on any of those pages. So thank you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.